gonna tell you why. Blueface is signed to Wack 100 and managed by Wack 100. Let me tell you how this works. When you sign to a label, they take at least half already. Then you're getting managed by the guy who owns the label. So of your 50% that you're getting, or less than 50%, he's still taking at least 20% of that too. It's double dipping. You get what I'm saying?
I look at his wife at the time like, excuse me, man, like, would you insist on your son signing this right here? Like, like if I was your son, would you recommend this? She was like, yeah, I would. And I signed at that time. That was like my confirmation.
No lawyer, no nothing.
No lawyer, no nothing.
Wack 100 was supposed to be Blueface's manager and business partner, but instead, listen to this, he's allegedly been running a long-term finesse and draining him for millions. So let's break down how one of hip-hop's most polarizing managers allegedly pulled off one of the boldest industry plays right under everyone's nose. Wack 100 is a longtime music manager and industry vet out of Los Angeles. He's best known for repping controversial artists and constantly making headlines with his loud, unapologetic personality. Born Cash Jones, Wack built his name in the streets before pivoting into the music business. He's managed artists ranging from The Game to Ray J, but his situation with Blueface may be both his biggest payday and his most questionable business move yet. Meanwhile, Blueface was just a young guy from Los Angeles who tripped into rap fame. Born Jonathan Porter, he was active in the streets when he accidentally went viral with Thotiana. At that point, he had no real understanding of the music industry, contracts, or business negotiations. He was literally just a street dude rapping off-beat, and somehow it worked. That combination made Blueface the perfect candidate for someone like Wack 100. You had a young, inexperienced artist who just blew up overnight. No management, no lawyer, no industry knowledge at all. Money coming in fast, but no clue how to protect it or structure real deals. That's when Wack 100 swooped in like a vulture. According to Blueface, it was actually Wack 100's daughter who heard Thotiana and put her father on the record. After that, Wack slid straight into Blueface's DMs trying to set up a meeting, but Blueface was hesitant at first because when you Google Wack 100, all you see is controversy. Blueface even admitted he was cautious about dealing with Wack because of his reputation. He said, when you Google him, people are already telling you about him. It's nothing but crazy. On top of that, Wack 100 used to go by Killer Wack back in the day, and Blueface is a stippy, so that history made the situation even messier. But Wack 100 wasn't backing down. He kept blowing up Blueface's phone, trying to get him to pull up to his house for a meeting. Blueface kept dodging the calls until one of his homies told him to at least hear Wack out. At this point, Blueface was handling everything himself, booking shows, shooting videos, running his own business. He was also getting attention from major labels like Atlantic and Empire, but he felt like they didn't understand his street background. When a woman at Atlantic asked if he was a stippy instead of whippy, he realized these corporate people really didn't get it. One day, Blueface was posted at the park in his hood having a good time when Wack 100 started blowing up his phone again, telling him to come through. Blueface didn't want to go, but Wack sent a car anyway. When Blueface arrived at Wack 100's mansion, he was immediately impressed. He said, when you see somebody who got it, it's like, okay, I like that. That was exactly the image Wack 100 wanted to present, flash the success and make Blueface believe he could reach that level too. Now here's where it gets wild. Wack 100 already had the contract written up and ready before Blueface even arrived. Think about that. Legal paperwork was prepared before they even had a real business conversation. That's textbook predatory behavior. But the most manipulative part came next. Blueface turned to Wack 100's wife and asked her, would you insist on your son signing this right here? Like, if I were your son, would you recommend this? And she said yes. Blueface later explained, I looked at his wife and asked if she'd want her own son signing it. He said when she said yes, that was his confirmation. No lawyer at all. No lawyer, no nothing. Based solely on that response from Wack's wife, Blueface signed the contract on the spot. No attorney, no time to review the terms, no understanding of what he was walking into. He signed because he trusted that a mother wouldn't steer him wrong. And this is where Wack 100's finesse really gets exposed. The contract Blueface signed wasn't just a management deal. It was a record deal and a management deal combined into one. That setup meant Wack 100 got paid twice from the same revenue streams. As Blueface's label, Wack took 50% of all music earnings off the top. Then, as his manager, he collected another 20% from what was left. Do the math. That's 70% of Blueface's money going straight to Wack 100. DJ Academics broke this down on his stream and called it exactly what it was: double dipping.
Blueface is signed to Wack 100 and managed by Wack 100. Let me tell you how this works. When you sign to a label, they take at least half already. Then you're getting managed by the guy who owns the label. So of your 50% that you're getting, or less than 50%, he's still taking at least 20% of that too. It's double dipping.
In a normal situation, you either sign a record deal or a management deal, not both with the same person. That's a blatant conflict of interest because your manager is supposed to fight for the best deals on your behalf. But how does that work when he's also the one cutting your checks? For context, standard management deals usually land around 15 to 20%, and most record deals split revenue 50-50 after expenses are recouped. But Wack 100 structured this setup so he wins on both sides, while Blueface gets hit from every direction. And the craziest part is, this wasn't some short-term arrangement. These contracts often stretch across multiple albums and many years, meaning Wack 100 has been pulling 70% of Blueface's earnings for years and is positioned to keep doing so well into the future. Fast forward to today, and you can see exactly how damaging this deal really was. Blueface recently got out of jail and came home broke. Let that sink in. A guy with multiple platinum records who was one of the hottest rappers in the world just a few years ago is now struggling to stay afloat. Even the crab restaurant he's been promoting isn't performing well. When you're only keeping 30% of your own money, building long-term businesses or investments becomes almost impossible. Most of the cash has been flowing straight into Wack 100's pockets. There are even reports saying Blueface may have to sell his house. And this right here is a textbook example of how predatory contracts destroy an artist's financial future. While Wack 100 lives in mansions and flexes wealth online, the artist who made the music is going broke. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. Blueface is still locked into this deal. Even if he wanted out, contracts like this are designed to be nearly impossible to escape without massive penalties or brutal legal fights. Remember, Blueface was young when he signed. He was barely 21, fresh off the streets with zero business education, and Wack 100 exploited that inexperience to lock him into a deal that overwhelmingly benefits Wack, not the artist. This story isn't just about Blueface. It highlights a recurring pattern in the music industry where older, seasoned businessmen prey on young, naive talent. They use psychological pressure, flashy lifestyles, and manufactured urgency to push artists into signing without proper protection. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere. A contract was ready before negotiations even started, a combined record and management deal, no time allowed for legal review. These are classic predatory tactics. But the most manipulative move of all was using Wack 100's wife as validation. That's psychological warfare, making it feel like family advice when it's really a setup. Industry knowledge matters. This situation proves why artists must understand the business side of music. If Blueface had basic contract awareness or a lawyer involved, this entire mess could have been avoided. From Wack 100's perspective, he probably feels justified because he did help Blueface level up and secure bigger opportunities. But taking 70% of someone's earnings is extreme by any standard, especially when that person creates the product. The power imbalance here is insane. Wack 100 controls the career, the money, and the business decisions. That's not a partnership, that's ownership. And when you own someone's career like that, you can do whatever you want with their finances. There's no clean exit. The most frustrating part for Blueface is knowing he can't easily escape. These contracts are built to be ironclad, and breaking them usually means paying back advances, legal fees, and sometimes more money than the artist even has.
So while Blueface deals with financial stress, selling assets, and legal issues, Wack 100 keeps collecting his 70% cut. That's millions of dollars over the years that should have stayed with the artist. And the biggest takeaway from all of this is simple. Never ever sign a contract without a lawyer reviewing it first.
I don't care how much you trust someone or how good the deal sounds. Listen to this. Always get independent legal advice before signing anything. A lot of these so-called industry veterans present themselves as mentors or father figures to young artists, but in reality, they're hunting for their next payday. Real mentorship doesn't involve taking 70% of another person's earnings. Wack 100's mansion and flashy lifestyle created an illusion that made Blueface believe signing with him was the path to the same success. What Blueface didn't realize was that Wack 100's wealth was built by taking massive percentages from multiple artists over the years. And the damage from these contracts goes way beyond money. When artists can't build real wealth from their own success, they can't reinvest in their communities, properly support their families, or create generational wealth. Instead, they stay dependent on the same system that's exploiting them. If Blueface had proper legal representation, the problems in this contract would have been flagged immediately. A solid entertainment lawyer would have pushed for separate deals, or at least drastically reduced the percentages. Industry education matters. If better resources existed to teach new artists about contract terms and industry standards, Blueface would have known that 70% was outrageous and that double-dipping was unethical. If Blueface had talked to other artists with management experience, they likely would have warned him about the red flags all over this deal. Taking time matters too. Simply waiting a few days, researching industry norms, and thinking it through could have saved Blueface millions. That urgency was fake, manufactured by Wack 100 to keep Blueface from making an informed decision. Blueface already had interest from major labels like Atlantic and Empire. Those deals might not have been perfect, but they almost certainly would have been better than handing 70% to one person. Today, Blueface is living with the consequences of a contract he signed years ago. Coming home from jail broke, struggling with business ventures, and selling assets, all while Wack 100 continues to profit from his work. And here's the irony. Blueface's success is what made Wack 100 wealthy, but the contract structure blocked Blueface from building sustainable wealth of his own. It's like working for a company where the boss gets rich while you stay broke, except you can't quit. Limited options. Right now, Blueface doesn't have many. He can try to renegotiate, but Wack 100 has zero incentive to give up that 70% cut. He can try to break the contract, but that would likely cost more money than he even has. Or he can keep working under these terms and hope volume alone lets him survive on 30%. The psychological impact is real. Beyond finances, this situation likely affects Blueface's motivation and creativity. When most of your earnings go to someone else, it's hard to stay hungry and perform at your peak. And other artists are watching. People across the industry are studying this situation and learning from it. It's a cautionary tale about why representation and contract knowledge are non-negotiable. The relationship between Wack 100 and Blueface isn't really manager and artist. It looks more like an owner and an employee. Real managers work for their artists and help maximize their income. They don't design deals that prioritize their own profit at the artist's expense. This setup is basically an extreme version of a 360 deal. And even most 360 deals don't take 70% of an artist's earnings. That level of control is excessive by any industry standard. If deals like this become normalized, it sets a dangerous precedent. Other managers may start demanding similar terms, knowing desperate artists might agree. These business situations often destroy personal relationships too. Blueface likely trusted Wack 100 and viewed him as a mentor. Now he's realizing that trust was used against him the entire time. When an artist can't build real wealth from their success, the damage doesn't stop with them. It hits their entire family. Blueface has children and relatives who should be benefiting from his wins, but instead, a massive portion of that money is flowing to Wack 100.
The pressure of money problems, legal trouble, and feeling stuck in a bad contract can seriously wreck someone's mental health. Success is supposed to bring stability and peace, not constant stress and new problems. When you're only keeping 30% of what you earn, staying motivated to grind and create becomes an uphill battle. Why give maximum effort when someone else is collecting most of the reward? The music industry desperately needs stronger safeguards to protect young artists from predatory deals. There should be clear limits on how much managers and labels can take, especially when artists are inexperienced. Mandatory legal review. There should be required waiting periods and legal reviews for any contract that crosses certain percentage or dollar thresholds. That alone would stop artists from making rash decisions that wreck their financial future. Education programs matter. The industry should be investing in programs that teach artists contract basics, industry norms, and business fundamentals before deals are ever signed. Peer support networks are just as important. Veteran artists need to step up and guide newcomers, warning them about common traps and industry scams. Transparency requirements matter too. Contracts should clearly spell out total percentages being taken and show how they compare to industry standards. That way, artists fully understand what they're agreeing to. At the end of the day, Blueface is the real victim in this situation. He was a young guy who caught lightning with a viral hit, but instead of that success setting him up for life, it became the foundation for someone else's wealth. The systemic issue. This isn't just about one bad contract. It's about a broken system where experienced business players prey on young, unprepared artists. And until that system changes, stories like this will keep repeating. The importance of education can't be overstated. The biggest lesson here is simple. Knowledge is power. If Blueface understood basic contract language and industry standards, this entire situation could have been avoided. Every young artist needs to learn the business side of music. Trust, but verify. You can believe people, but you should always double-check what they're telling you through independent sources. Just because someone looks successful or sounds confident doesn't mean they have your best interests in mind. Think long-term. When making business decisions, always consider how they'll impact you years down the line. A deal that feels great today can quietly cost you millions tomorrow. There's hope for change. Situations like this can spark real reform in the industry. Maybe future artists will be better protected, and maybe predatory managers will finally face scrutiny. The legacy. Unfortunately, Blueface's name may forever be tied to this contract just as much as his music. But if his experience helps other young artists avoid the same trap, then at least something positive comes from it. So here's the final warning to any young artist watching this. Learn from Blueface's mistake. Get a lawyer. Understand your contracts. Never let anyone rush or pressure you into signing something you don't fully understand. Your financial future depends on the choices you make right now. The music industry can be beautiful when it works the right way, but it can also be ruthless and destructive when it doesn't. Stay educated, stay protected, and always remember, if a deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is.